This week on Induction Noise.
Das. We trust. Das. We trust. Induction. Induction noise.
Guys, and welcome back to Induction Noise. We are once again in my office here at Gilmore Collection, sitting between some pretty awesome cars, I think. And tonight I'm joined, Neil couldn't make it, but I am joined by Andre.
Hello.
I am joined by Niku.
How's it?
And our guest tonight, you might know him as Das Kapital.
Das Kapital!
Kyle, welcome to the show.
Yeah, I'm good. Thanks. Thank you for having me, guys. It's a
Yeah.
pleasure to be here. This has been a couple of weeks, at least, in the making.
In the making, yeah.
Because of, like rescheduling things, but it's nice to be
I
here.
mean, shit happens, you know? It's,
Yeah.
It's fun.
There was a momentary lapse of concentration where I accidentally forgot to bring the audio equipment.
Yeah.
And then there was a scheduling conflict.
Yeah.
And there was a plague of locusts, and a flood, and
But
Reliable.
like Owen Wilson says in Zoolander, we're here, we're doing it. Do we know what we're doing? Do we know what we're doing? No. Are we going to do our best at it, have fun? Yes.
Exactly.
So, we're here, we're going to do it. So, let's go.
Yeah,
what are we doing? So, Kyle, where did you find us, or where did we find you? I mean, we kind of bumped into each other through various WhatsApp groups.
Yeah,
didn't
watch
we?
WhatsApp groups. So I have
WhatsApp groups.
WhatsApp groups.
See what you did there.
Yeah, so I think I've been in a bunch of different WhatsApp groups for. It's funny with I think the watch thing and the car thing. There's all these generational groups. There's older guys who are super serious about stuff, and then you.
And we're one of those groups as well.
And you end up as a younger group of guys. There were some people that I'd met just through saying, hey, come look at this car, whatever. And it's like, oh, we've got a younger watch group. Come check it out. So now I'm in 3 or 4 groups, and I think through there with me asking a couple of questions. I'd already been suggested a couple of things related to you guys that you'd been brought to my attention. And then I got tagged in a story. Cause
I tagged you. We were stalking and we were like, we should have you on the show. I'm like, well, let's see if this works. I'm just going to tag you on Instagram.
yeah, because I'd already heard from a mate basically about this whole thing. And it was like, oh yeah, there's this podcast, whatever. So when I got tagged in it, I'm like, 2 and 2, put it together.
That's cool, man.
Yeah, and it just makes perfect sense. It's nice that the Venn diagrams often end up overlapping
Yes.
these days. So I was like, absolutely yes.
I actually think that there's lots of things that, when I was studying sound engineering, one of my favorite subjects was how different sounds affect the human body and how different frequencies resonate within different parts of you and that kind of thing. And at the same time, I'm fascinated by how certain things that are completely unrelated somehow end up drawing the same people to them.
Yeah.
And music does that hugely,
Yes.
big time. It's one of the reasons I love going to concerts and stuff, because you meet people who are from completely different walks of life, but something about the music that you're listening to resonates with both you and them and has brought you together. And watches and cars, for some reason, every time you join a watch group, some guys will be talking about cars. And when you join a car group, we had so many people on the Carbs and Coffee WhatsApp groups talking about cars that we actually ended up creating Carbs and Chronos, which is now our own little watch group.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, there's another one.
Another
I think there's
Just send me the invite later.
One you are
Just-
welcome to
just
join.
Send it over. The more the merrier.
and I think it's something to do with the the sort of precision of engineering and that
Yes.
kind of thing that just speaks to petrol heads the same way that it does to watch people.
And I mean, drivers, race car drivers, everyone just has a watch attached to them always. If you look at Charles Leclerc, you always know he's wearing
Yeah, but
that.
that's
Now-
because I'm sponsored, man. #
yeah,
bless.
Yeah, but I mean,
It's like with
It's
the RM on the sleeve of the. But I think it's also interesting. Like to your point, it's kind of what everyone wants out of it, right? Like there's some people that just like, for example, cars because of the optics of it, or
Yeah.
there's a watch for that as well. It's
Yeah,
like
yeah.
you want to.
Exactly.
You're 21. You struck it
Hublot.
big. You struck it big. Yeah. You struck it big in crypto, and you got super lucky, and now you're like selling online courses and shit. And so you're like, I have to own X, Y, and Z watch.
Yeah.
I have to
Yeah.
drive X, Y, and Z.
What will
car.
make the biggest statement?
Yeah, like
you know,
my car like backfires on purpose, and I'm super chuffed about that.
Yeah.
now. Like these kinds of things. Where then,
the bangs and the pops.
when then there'll be just as many people who go like this car is an incredible value for what it
Yeah.
is, and like, or you can ride the wheels off of it, and there's a watch for that as well.
Exactly.
And it's I think we're all just children at the end of the day. Like the older we get, the more locked in we get.
I'm a
into,
kid
like,
the whole day, bro. I don't know about the end of the day.
I have been obsessing over
I
stuff.
work in a toy box.
Exactly, right? Yeah. It's the same thing that drives I've been going into Lego stores because I'm like, maybe I should start building some Lego kits again. And it's that same kind of mentality.
I never pass one without going.
So
me and Neil with our Hot Wheels.
Them with the Hot Wheels.
Yeah.
So this whole mentality thing, sorry, I'm going off on a tangent here completely,
Yeah.
but
Okay,
this,
bro.
this mentality thing that you mentioned,
Yeah.
I'm fascinated by this because I genuinely think that, my wife calls me judgmental and other people think I'm a snob,
Yeah.
but I reckon that it's not 100% accurate, it's never going to be 100% accurate, but to some degree, I can tell what kind of person you are by what car you drive and what music you listen to.
Yes. To some degree. I think some people, obviously you can never discount upbringing, I think is a big thing. Because there's also, I can say it from a professional angle with my music stuff, is there's what people would maybe expect based off of, career DJ or like career on radio or whatever, they'll think it's only dance music of a certain kind. But what I actually listen to in my personal time is absolutely representative of who I am. So I think there's often like I think if you can get behind the motivation of it, it's like, we're talking about, there's someone who's going to buy a Ferrari because they want to look like they fucking drive a Ferrari. And then there are people who underneath it all are like, do you understand the
Inner
engineering that went into this?
Yeah.
But that's also going to, it'll probably come across quite clearly in the way that they dress and the kinds of things that they do.
And the way that
100%.
they drive it.
Literally, exactly.
And the way that ask them to talk about it.
Yes.
Ask them to talk about it and you'll see the passion.
Yeah.
Or you will see, it's a solid investment, put my money there, it grows, all that. And then you
Ferrari
get
goes
someone
blue.
else, someone else is like, I paid $5 for this one, but I've got another one coming for $7,
Absolutely,
isn't this color is very exclusive and I had to pay extra for it.
But they only found that out after they bought the car. The guy, as
They basically read the sales.
Exactly.
yeah, the guy told them, hey, by the way, this color is like really rare. He's like, oh, no shit. And it's like adds it to his list. of
So
things
they
to
went
say
into the
to people.
Ferrari dealership and I want a red one.
Oh, you want the luggage that comes with it? It's about 200 grand.
Yeah.
But if you have it, this car's going to be worth so much. Yes, I had it.
Literally just
I
for the
had it.
Instagram photo.
Tick all the boxes. And then you get someone else who's like a little kid
Yeah.
who you just can't stop talking about the car because
Yeah.
it's like, they're passionate and it's like, how it makes them feel and how they drive it. And, it's a very different.
It's what I like about the watches and the cars thing as a crossover as well, is that obviously there are places where there is like a degree of judgment, and maybe also not even judgment, it's that some people just feel out of their depth. If you're like some kid who's rebuilding some like Japanese import kind of thing and it's really bare bones, they might assume, okay, they can't walk in here and feel welcome or whatever, as an example. But it probably isn't that, it's probably far from the truth.
Yeah.
Like,
As
if
long
you're-
as they don't stance it, they'll be fine.
Yeah, 100%. Bag the thing. But I've found that it's been really cool to watch meetups and getting to know people while, rebuilding my car and like talking to all these people, different things, is it doesn't really matter what you're doing, whether like you've bought a shit box and you're trying to fix that thing up,
Yeah.
or you've come in from a premium angle and you're trying to take it on the track, whatever. It's more just of like respect, like this is
Yeah.
really great. Like you're buying an affordable watch because it's a great watch, not because
Yeah.
it's affordable. Like anyone can look in at that and go, that's a
I
good
think the
thing
difference
to
is
buy.
you know what it is that you're buying.
Yes.
You're excited about my, Casio G-Shock. I'm excited
Literally,
about it
yeah.
because of, how cool it is and how robust it is and whatever. It costs like $3,000. but-
People aren't frothing
yeah.
over the Casio because it's $3,000. They're frothing over it because it's really well engineered and it's also $3,000.
Yes.
And that appeals to everyone, to whether $3,000 is aspirational or whether it's just nothing you care about.
But it's the same as with, like you said, what it tells you about. If somebody comes to, let's say, I want to start a new business, somebody comes for a job interview, right? Just like a normal worker, the guy comes around. If the guy drives a, 15-year-old Toyota or BMW that is like meticulously maintained, like looks like it comes out of the showroom, or the guy drives a new GTI, but there's like dings on the doors, it hasn't been washed in 6 months, and it's just, there's no passion, there's no
respect for what he owns.
or anything.
But I'm not going to waste your time with this interview. Just go home.
Yeah, just go like,
No, bro. Should have brought the clean Chico.
And even get the car home, like, please do that. Like,
Yeah.
So you brought up your professional career.
yeah.
Tell us about what it is that you do exactly.
Right. So I started out in 2010. It was the best time to start, really. Like going from just after I'd matriculated, I went from, getting into music production in high school. Like,
Are you from Cape Town?
from Cape Town,
Oh, okay.
born and bred from here. I mean, I've done my fair share around the country, but I've chosen to stay based here just because as much
It's
as
the best.
as much as the offers of Johannesburg have been fun, I do like the quality of life. But I mean, I went from being cool, I produce music and I wanted to turn this into something. Quite rapidly, it turned into something that as a 19-year-old, you could actually like make a living off of. It was good. Like everyone else was studying. I left UCT to do just full-time music production and DJing as a career.
Wow.
Very few people were coming out at that time is kind of the main thing. I don't say it as if I'm some genius. It's that I was a young guy making music when everyone else was at least 5 or 6 or 7 years older than me. And so there was something really exciting about
Your
it.
timing was spot on.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I've even advised younger artists who now are absolutely crushing it when they asked me years ago, how did you do this? I'm like, right place, right time. Like I really do what you're doing and keep doing what you're doing well. And they're now sustainable and that's what's great.
Awesome.
So from there, it kind of naturally progressed into radio because there was a need for it I started on UCT radio. I ended up on internet radio at a very prominent nightclub here. And then that naturally moved into 5FM where I've been for 9 years now. This is my ninth year.
That's crazy.
Just doing dance music specialist radio.
Awesome.
And kind of off the back of that, you accumulate a set of skills kind of managing this career on your own, where now I'm doing a bit of artist management for people.
Nice.
Have done brand and marketing management for some business groups and kind of little creative projects with brands around the country I like to think of myself as like a creative cyclone. So as weird as that sounds, it's something that brands come to you and go, hey, can we, pay you to like wear the clothing? And I go, let's rather put that money into a campaign and a shoot, and we shoot people around Cape Town. Don't worry about me. I'll promote your product regardless. I'm involved. So storytelling and narrative is where I find myself now. So I'm still doing the radio. DJing is cool. Like that industry is obviously a bit weird after COVID, but a lot more focused on kind of just great storytelling, I think, and building up actually like young talent and opening doors for other people is where I'm at right now.
That's very cool.
Yeah.
Cool, man. That's exciting.
Hey guys, just a quick shout out to our resident smelly IT guy and his company, CodePure. If you need any kind of tech help, CodePure are your go-to guys. They can do web development, they can do app development, they can do hardware sales, they can do SEO, they can do all kinds of crazy stuff. If it has to do with technology, these guys will sort you out. I think I've mentioned before that CodePure recently did a really cool project with the guys from Harper Sports Cars, where they built a full digital dashboard and data system for the Harper Type 5 sports cars. They've also supplied all the hardware and setup for Neil's sim racing rig. They also build really cool tools to boost your business on social media, where you basically just have to put in your content and it will distribute to all of the different platforms. I mean, it's really quite amazing what these guys are capable of. So if you need to boost your business, if you need to just get a new sim rig, whatever you need to do, get in touch with CodePure. They really know their IT shizzle.
I did listen to some of your
you
tunes.
used to DJ as well, didn't you?
No, not at
I
all.
used to. I used to DJ.
One of us did.
So I studied at Stellenbosch.
You were
It wasn't in,
DJ Kuruman.
It wasn't in 2010. It was a bit longer ago.
Okay.
It was about
10-20.
20. it was 10-20 exactly. It was about 24 years ago. And you know, I was a bit more serious than, you know, I did they had like these fundraising dances at the girls' reses. Used to play those, you know.
Okay.
I mean, going from Mr. Jones to Kaptein Spanny Sailor on Winamp is not for anyone to do, bro. So
You kids don't know how lucky you have it now with your computers.
I had a desktop. I didn't have a laptop. I only had a desktop. I had a desktop with a big CRT screen.
Yeah, jeez.
So I used to carry that across the road to the ladies' res.
Literally.
And then I would actually rent the speakers and the amp from like some guy in town. Have them deliver it there, plug it in, and then I'll do the gigs and get paid like, I don't know, probably not enough to have a proper lunch here in Cape Town.
You just did it for the girls, man. You just that's
Hey, you know, I hate the game, not the player, man.
Stellenbosch has and remains actually a really great place for, especially now, like there's been a new generation of people who've come through and like just young businesses, young people, like it's always a good party scene. So I'm
absolutely
not surprised.
We've had amazing parties there. So I was kind of joking. Obviously, I was definitely, it was a side gig to make some money.
Yes.
But I did enjoy it. What I did enjoy was actually picking the right stuff. And what was so, Stellenbosch crowd was so weird. Mostly Afrikaans people and whatever. So it was anything from freaking, you know, maybe you'll have some heavy metal song in there, you'll have some EDM thing in there, you'll throw Afrikaans one for the langarm, then you'll have, so, but it was kind of cool reading the crowd and figuring out what do they want.
Yeah, absolutely.
And that was kind of fun.
I did that for 3 or 4 years.
Oh, wow.
Before I got picked up by a nightclub in Stellenbosch called New Bar.
I know New Bar, bro.
Yeah.
We hung out in New Bar. Not that much. It was expensive. I
was resident at New Bar in Stellenbosch for a couple of years.
Awesome.
And then when they opened up their Somerset West branch, I moved there.
I would have jammed on your dance floor at New Bar.
Yeah, so in New Bar Somerset West, sorry, we're not talking about cars at all, but
No, it's okay.
That's fine.
Have a moment.
Doesn't matter.
We're getting there.
We'll get another episode out.
We're getting there.
I was probably there for 5 or 6 years. I was there a long time. And you learn, like you said, how to read the crowd.
You have to read
how to play the right music. But at the same time, you know, a lot of people think that a nightclub DJ's job is to keep the dance floor full.
Yeah.
It really isn't. Because if the dance floor's full,
Nobody's buying drinks.
The bar makes
Bar's
no
not
money.
turning, so you really have to.
So you have to sort of split your crowd. And you have one crowd that's really into the hip-hop stuff. You have one crowd that's really into the dance stuff.
Sitting, the dance
and you
guys
keep sort of swapping them over throughout the night so that they all get sauced up. And by the end of the night, you can play whatever the hell you want. Everyone's dancing.
Had enough booze, every music is...
I'm going to assume that there's that, again, the Venn diagram of like club promoters who like cars. Let me speak to you quickly. If you've been in this only for a few years, there are a lot of people who get really angry lately over the last few years with, the dance floor wasn't full all the way through X DJ.
You didn't do your job.
And I'm like, and they want to, cuck on that DJ for whatever reason. And I'm like, they were doing you a favor indirectly.
Yeah.
Like, firstly, not everyone...
Your business is better off because of...
If I walked in here and I screamed at you for an hour, by the end of the hour, firstly, you'd be tired of me. And secondly, like, it wouldn't make a difference of whether, like, I started screaming or ended screaming. It's just this long thing that means nothing. So, to your point, there's so many people who don't understand that exact logic of people need to have a break. It doesn't have to be a cuck moment, just a quiet moment or a calm moment.
So I've got a question on that topic. Let's bring it back to cars. Right?
Let's do it.
So if you were having a blast now, you're getting in your car, you're going to like clear your head, go for a bit of a drive. Let's say you're going for a drive in Mexico. So maybe a bit faster than the speed limit, like some corners thrown in there. What would you be listening? What would be on your playlist?
Okay, so are we...
3 songs.
Okay, 3 songs. That's fine. Okay, because this is now the question. I think just to clarify, am I cruising for enjoyment, or am I cruising because I'm wanting to like put the car through its paces? Like I'm really like am I hoying, or am I just actually like getting lost in the cruise?
Which one is more fun for you?
Probably hoying for the sake of it.
There we go. Hoying it is.
Prodigy Firestarter has to be the first one, because that's like the most dangerous song to drive to in the world.
My man.
That's the one. Prodigy Firestarter.
Still one of the coolest music videos ever.
Yes.
Yes.
Oh yeah. Wow. Yeah.
So quick, a side quest.
Yes.
When I was like a teenager, when you're playing games, you always have like a name, right? Because it needs to be a cool name.
Yeah.
Like a
gamer
hacker
tag,
name, you know?
yeah.
So I was Firestarter. That was my gaming handle, right? So
I think in keeping in that vein, then it's got to be Prodigy Firestarter, Enter Sandman by Metallica,
Yes.
and I think then something a bit more modern, but like it wouldn't be much more modern. I'm gonna put it from around like 2000 something. So like, you know what, Limp Bizkit, Rolling.
Oh, that's a
By
good
Limp
one.
Bizkit, just absolutely blaring that full volume, sunroof open,
Just jamming it.
potentially
Nice.
risking the lives of Mexicans everywhere. Yeah, that's the one, yeah. That kind of ballpark is where I'd be.
Senor,
That's cool.
please.
Rolling. Get out of the way, I'm rolling.
Dios mío.
You're going to get us cancelled again. What would you listen?
So I think
I've been in the car with him.
yeah. So
Okay.
so
And
Quentin's
we
been in
went
the car
from
with me.
Taylor Swift to
And he
Sugar.
wasn't listening to the podcast.
Well, I always listen to the
Like-
podcast, but when someone else is in the car, I'd like respect them to go listen it on their own, you know, so that they.
Hand them the card.
No.
that's got
I've
the
experienced it on their
Exactly,
own.
exactly.
the
We
QR
need to
code.
get the extra views.
Contain the
I can't
excitement.
just play it over.
Oh, yeah,
True.
for sure.
That's 2
exactly.
views.
Get the views. Absolutely.
See. So I'm, as Quentin found out, I'm quite a metalhead. And everyone would think like, oh, if you're going to go rag a car, you're probably going to be driving extra hard when you listen to metal. But as me and Quentin discussed, it's not really the case because the instrumentals of metal is just almost soothing.
Yeah.
And sometimes everyone's like, oh, I can't hear what they're saying with the screaming or whatever, but something just in your head clicks that you can either hear it or you just don't care because you're listening to the melody.
It's like we were told when we were kids, like if you play the
record
thing
backwards.
it's like the devil talking to you. So you're not really hearing it, but it's
Especially that kind of metal. Like I've when I was younger and like friends, boyfriends, you know, like the older guy who had the car when you were like 15, 16, and they would just slam
Smash
their
it
car
there.
through corners, but
Yeah.
listening to that like, I'm like, yeah, sure,
Yeah,
whatever.
I like,
fuck
sure,
yeah,
enjoy.
Let's go.
But there's a few songs I do love to listen to in the car, and one of them is just kind of car brand related because Queen, the drummer of Queen, wrote the song "I'm in Love with My Car," and
Which very nearly didn't make it onto the album.
yes, it didn't make it onto the album. But what people don't know is at the beginning there's a actual car revving, right?
Yeah.
And that was his 1600 Junior.
Alpha Junior.
Alpha Junior, which was a clapped out piece of garbage.
Yeah.
But he just loves the car.
That is very cool.
So that's one of the car that would be my first song on the list.
Love it.
And then I'll probably transition if I'm driving my Alpha. So it's kind of car related for me
Yeah.
to Black Betty.
Okay.
Because
yeah,
of
yeah.
my black car and whatever, you know, and it's kind of like Need for Speed 1 vibes, you know?
Nice.
Yeah, yeah.
So, and then I'll probably transition over either to Lorna Shore or Eminence.
Okay.
Okay.
Also heavy, I'm guessing.
Well, yeah, quite heavy. Yeah,
don't
Lorna
know all these bands.
Lorna Shore is basically death metal. No,
Full
that's
transparency. I've reached the age now where
Yeah.
don't listen to 5FM that much.
No, I mean-
I throw the odd KFM in there or
Like,
whatever.
with love and
Depends on
respect,
what's
I
on.
don't even listen to radio when I'm not doing radio.
Even a Smile FM here and there maybe.
Ryan.
So I don't know
Ryan,
who
if
you
you're
were talking
listening.
about after my time.
Yeah, so that would probably be my free song pick.
Metal heavy.
Metal heavy. Well, actually,
heavy
not
metal,
that,
metal
it's
heavy.
that metal heavy except for the ending. But heavy metal songs can go into like a 20-minute tangent of just this
Yeah.
insane drum solo with like double heel, what,
like the
what's,
breakdown.
and yeah, it's crazy. Yeah.
And you're
It's just awesome, and you're just vibing.
Me? I have very eclectic tastes in music. So I don't really, even though I was a DJ for so long, I'm not really into electronic music at all. I just, because I come from a sound engineering background, I know that something like, I don't know if you remember Darude's Sandstorm,
Yes.
song that came
Yeah.
out. You could knock something like that out in the studio in half an hour.
If you know what you're doing,
you know
absolutely,
what you're doing, it's
it
easy.
is not hard.
Something
The
like,
kind of skill that goes into making a Metallica song, it's very
I mean, that's a song
different,
that
potentially.
Metallica would spend
Days of
a
writing.
month
Yeah.
in a studio.
days of
Exactly.
writing, days of
To
recording, re-recording.
perfecting the
Your
instruments.
take is not right. Could you sing this differently? Where Sandstorm really is like, I've programmed some cool things. The knowledge is learning how to program.
But it's still a cool thing.
Yeah, but I mean,
It's a cool thing, but you know, for me,
Yeah.
from a musician's point of view and from a sound engineer's point of view, there's more skill involved in creating that kind of music. So for me to pick 3 songs is actually really difficult.
It's the first two that comes up, bro.
So it's like AC/DC,
Ooh.
anything but AC/DC. Because if we're being
call.
brutally honest with ourselves, a lot of AC/DC sounds a lot
Similar.
similar. shall we
yes,
say.
yeah.
And even Brian Johnson will tell you that. He was asked once in an interview, how did they end up coming up with so many different albums? He said, well, go listen to it. It's the same thing.
He's also quite a big car enthusiast.
Yeah, he is.
Yes.
He
Big
rags on
huge.
that old Bentley of his.
Yeah,
He
yeah.
loves driving.
And he's got an
Thunderguts.
Alpha 4C, by the way.
Thunderguts, yes. Yes, he's got
He
a
owns an
4C
Alpha
as well.
4C.
So anything but AC/DC would be on the playlist.
Yeah.
Then I would have to have something nice and heavy with, I quite like when I go into really heavy music, I like the stuff that's got weird rhythms that you can't count to.
Yeah.
You know, unless you know what the time signature is, you're never going to be able to
Yeah.
go 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, because it's just 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3,
Yeah.
4, 1, 2, 3, 4.
Or like weird polyrhythms and things. It's the best.
Exactly. So one of the bands that I listen to quite a lot that does that very well and very in time when they're playing live as well, which is incredibly difficult to do, is a band called Meshuggah.
Yes.
Very, very good at doing that. System of a Down also does quite a bit of
Yes.
that kind of thing, but they're a little bit lighter and a little bit more melodic.
You know what I'd like to chuck in there into my list as well. Tool, Lazarus.
Yeah, I was about to say.
Two Lateralis. Yeah, that was. I was also going to say
That.
That's
Very
Just
awesome.
did
cool song.
a recent-ish album as well that was just brilliant. Like,
Is it?
Yeah.
I haven't listened to
Not,
it.
not like super new, but in the last
Yeah,
few
Not
years.
easy to
2 years,
listen to,
yeah.
but brilliant artistically. And then the last sort of part of my journey, I try to cruise and just calm down and chill a little bit, let the engine cool and whatever. And then I switch over to my blues playlist where I'm listening to Joe Bonamassa and Kenny Wayne Shepherd and B.B. King and those kind of
B.B.
guys.
King, the greatest, actually. So much of again, one pointless music fact before we get back to cars. Like, rock and roll as a whole owes everything to like blues and to
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
No,
your
sure,
B.B.
sure.
Kings and all of that kind of stuff. Like, there would be no AC/DC or like let's the Beatles. Let's even start there
Yeah.
without all that stuff that came before, which is why I think it's so great to go back to that, knowing that it was all based in blues and soul
Yeah.
and R&B when it actually
Yeah.
meant rhythm and blues, not Usher
cool.
or
Yeah,
whatever
yeah,
it is
yeah.
now.
Yeah, no, 100%. 100%. You, Andre?
I will go for Eminem for my first one.
Eminem, okay.
Lose Yourself.
No, good.
Okay.
Always.
Yeah,
always.
Okay.
Fair.
If I'm on my way to go, when I'm racing and I'm on my way to the track,
The
I would
last
always,
thing you want to do is lose yourself.
you're just preparing yourself for the worst, you know? You never know.
You'll actually listen to that while you're karting because you're going, your arms is heavy.
Yeah, mom spaghetti on my sweater at some point. Pretty much. So it's just a guy karting, basically. That's what he was singing about. An unfit guy karting, an unfit middle-aged guy karting. So Eminem is I'll definitely have that in there.
Yeah.
Then I will have, like you said, anything from AC/DC. I'll have anything from Def Leppard.
Cool.
Probably Rocket from Def Leppard, actually. It's
Yeah.
it's not one of their big songs, but to listen to it driving is lekker. And then I'll probably have like Armin van Buuren, like Mirage or something
Oh,
like
cool.
that.
Okay.
It's like
Yeah,
uplifting
like
vibes.
a like a very
Like a beat.
you know, yeah,
It's but uplifting. I can
yeah,
get
yeah,
behind that.
exactly. Yeah.
Do you think you'll be listening to something while we're doing the iLamuna race?
Must ask my brother to put the radio back, but yeah.
I wasn't.
let's just
I don't know.
add
That's
weight,
just
guys.
something
We
I've
can't do
wanted.
that.
Yeah, we can't add weight.
Just put earphones in the.
But
in
we're
the-
gonna have the radio, so
sing.
someone's just gonna have
We'll
to DJ there for
We'll
us.
have, we'll have karaoke in the pits, and then we just put it through to the driver. Exactly. Keep him awake.
Yeah.
What was your first car?
First car was I don't even remember the year at this point, but it was a Polo. It was just like it was specific.
Basic starter pack.
Basic starter pack, but at the time it was like the like secondhand Polo. It's so like you can take your sister, you can pick her up from school if you need to, and you
Yeah.
can get to
A
class.
presentable,
Presentable,
kind
perfectly
of,
useful.
you know,
Practical.
sensible,
Sensible.
practical,
Transport
sensible.
appliance.
Absolutely just practical. That's what it's got to be. And it was great while it was. And then I actually the weirdest thing is that I just kind of realized there was a long period where I was like, I actually don't need a car right now. Like, always now.
Blaspheme!
I know. Trust me. Now,
Did you invite him, Nico?
but like now that I've like, you know, obviously like dedicated my life at the altar of BMW and I'm busy like pouring out the blood of my firstborn so that I can restore a car, that kind of thing. It's obviously a very different conversation, but then it just turned out that it was like, there was this window of just driving very practical things. So
Yeah.
like Opel Corsas, but really like at the moment, the Mrs. car is I forget what it's even called, the 1.0 T EcoFlex. So it's turbo,
Yes.
1 liter.
The 3-cylinder turbo thing.
It's fucking brilliant because it's so light on fuel and it actually like claps.
powerful.
It goes, but it is so like, you know, she's like, oh, I'm getting like 5 liters for 100 kilometers, and
You're
I'm
like,
like, that would
I'm
be
not.
nice.
Yeah, that is very nice.
In my car.
I also get 5 kilometers to the liter.
Yeah, just worse. Just a liter, exactly. You know, so it was started off with the Polo and just it was a good couple of years with that Polo that I really enjoyed. But I just was also, I think it's the case of like, you're too young and you don't really know how to appreciate a car at that point. I think so in hindsight, brilliant. But like all of the memories attached to it were more attached to like you're young and you have a vehicle and you're able to
Yeah,
go
it was your freedom.
yeah,
that's
it's like,
that's
what
what
do you
it
mean it needs
represents.
service? What do you mean? Like, what are you talking about? The light went on. What does that mean?
My dad would have loved it if I was just like, okay, well, I'm going with a Polo instead of the Alphas. He
Yeah.
tried to steer me clear so badly. So
But you
badly.
had the sickness like when you were
Yeah,
still
the
at school.
sickness. It was-
So you developed a love for cars later, or like an interest in.
No, so you know what's
I really
interesting?
wanna-
It's like from childhood, there was actually always an underlying thing because of like the line of work that my dad was in and a
Okay.
bunch of stuff, which I'll explain. But it's almost like I had this, you know, as a kid, kids are into like dinosaurs or cars, whatever. I was really into cars, but in like a very encyclopedic way. So it was kind of like, oh yeah, you know, like it was looking at this thing and being like, oh yeah, that's the automatic one. That means it's 0 to 106 seconds versus
Exactly.
5 seconds.
Yeah.
It was like this weird, really obsessive detail.
Yeah.
My dad was also, funnily enough, ended up in radio, but
Okay.
unrelated to us both ending up in it. It's just kind of, he tried to steer me away from music and I said, I'm going to go for it anyway. And these things happen. But there was a period where he basically was high up in marketing at Volkswagen for a while.
Okay. Wow.
So Golf 4 launched and like he had a, you know, brand new off the line Golf 4 and like with a chip that they put in themselves. So
wow.
the thing could like, you have to be in PE.
Breathe,
You live in
breathe
PE
on,
though, so it's like
breathed on by the factory.
yeah, so congrats. You can absolutely slam your foot down and go crazy fast in Port Elizabeth. So
Yeah,
there's like
there's
this
different rules for Volkswagens in Port Elizabeth.
But I mean, since before then, like he had a 528 just before that in Cape Town when he still lived here. In the heyday of radio, back when being a radio presenter was genuine celebrity, you know, not like you had to be on Breakfast or Drive. He was a breakfast host on Good Hope. And
Okay.
I look back and there's like photos of him and my mom with like matching E30s, and I'm like, what's wrong with you people? Where are these cars? Like, what did you do? Yeah, so I just kind of, you know, always had like that passion, and I was into a lot of those things, and I think that's what formed. There's a very specific era that I'm into, and it is that kind of nostalgia of childhood. It's that the cars I look at, even the colors that I'm into, those kinds of things end up relating in one way or another to like, oh, that's something my mom owned.
90s spirit, correct? Kind of.
90s, a bit of 2000s.
Oh.
And like my mom had some like really whack cars. Like she had a purple Chrysler PT Cruiser.
Oh no!
Oh no, please.
Sure.
No, please, because that followed on. My parents were divorced.
wow.
No, wait, it gets worse because my parents were divorced at this point.
I was going to say that is grounds for
my dad's living in Port Elizabeth working for Volkswagen, and my mom clearly still goes like, hey, can I call in a favor? I really want to get a new Beetle. So we went from a new Beetle red to
Purple PT
to a purple
Cruiser.
fucking PT Cruiser. And
Jeez.
so it was like a lot. It was like there was this gaudy aspect to what my mom liked, and there was this kind of a more tasteful thing to my dad. Sure. And
That was really a deal with the devil.
yeah,
That was
truly.
really-
Wow.
I mean, you got to understand, like that new Beetle was like new in 2000 and whatever, and it like still only had like a tape player. So like you're going on like long family trips with me and my sister. There's not enough room in that car, and you're having to listen to like Backstreet Boys on cassette. And I was like, okay, never again. So that was kind of the beginning. It was then, and then I think I'm going to say that the music thing like became all consuming in the sense that. It was my passion. It
your
was
focus.
It was my passion. It was my job. It's what I cared about. I knew everything about every genre, whether I was in it or not. And like that was my life. It was like sitting and making music till 5 a.m.
Not much time for other kind of.
It's more that I just chose to let that be like the all-consuming job and passion. And then in the last, I'd say about 5 years, I then kind of COVID happened, and I was like, hey, I've done 10 years in this music thing. Like, let me actually have a bit of life.
Yeah.
It's like take a step back and ask a few questions like,
Yeah.
why am I doing the things I'm doing? What do I really want to do?
Am I really enjoying this anymore? And that pull back to go, I'm going to let this passion be a passion again. I'm going to really reignite that by taking the foot off the gas and getting into these other things. That's where I start then going, okay, maybe I need like a project car. Okay.
Nice.
Ooh, watches are cool. Ooh, what's going on there? Ooh, like taking up hobbies again, being a normal human being.
That's
And
cool.
yeah, so that was kind of the start of that. Definitely.
Cool stuff.
So how did all of that lead you into what you're driving now?
So
First of all, tell everyone what you are driving.
Because it is quite special.
I am driving a 2001 BMW E38 740i and
Nice V8.
V8, 4.4
fans.
liter. And what is nice is, shout out to the original owner, there was obviously very late in the life cycle, you could actually buy the 740 Sport. So it wasn't, it was like the M Sport, but it wasn't an actual M car. All it was is a slightly different gear ratio and
A more sporty package.
slightly more sporty suspension. And fortunately, a lot of the options that were in that car could actually just be optioned onto normal 740s. So I still have I have the sports gearbox, but it's just still a normal, just honest to goodness, like, it feels a bit more executive, I guess.
Yeah.
What's great about it is that after my dad passed, I kind of had this period of like a year where I was thinking, okay, I want to get into like a project of some kind. Nothing too major, but something that speaks to something I enjoy. And I was looking around at old BMWs and I thought, okay, there was that 528i in the 90s, and I loved that thing. There was just a lot of great memories attached to like driving along it through Cape Town.
Yeah.
And it was also like quite a dark blue. Don't know if it was the same Orient blue as mine.
Okay.
But my mom also had an E36 around that same time, I think a 316, and it's the same-ish color as my car.
Okay.
So it kind of, to me, was like, cool. That 528 was a big deal to my dad then. Let me go back to that time period and go, hey, I'm going to, not in a sense one-up that, but I want to take that and go like, let's do this to the nth degree and get like the 740. It's this kind of rare bird. Not a lot of people have them in rare condition, and less people are looking after them. You look online and it's just people stripping them for parts. So it was like, cool. The car captures that same feeling.
Cool.
It's got that old BMW smell that always feels like a dad car. When
Like you
get
said,
into
like the BMW 5 to 8, and especially that generation of BMWs.
Yes.
In my opinion, they've lost the plot completely now
No,
these
for
days.
sure. It's-
In terms of if you got into a 90s, 80s, 90s, 2000 BMW with leather seats, it was the feel, the smells, you could identify with, you knew you were in a BMW.
It's that immediate nostalgia. And anyone of my friends my age, when the first time they get into that car, if they ever had a parent or a family member or
Takes them
anything,
back.
they, whether it's because of nostalgia, because it's like, oh, it's a family member I lost, or I remember growing up, whatever, they're immediately hit with that same wave of nostalgia I feel when I got in the car the first time. And for me, it's now I'm going to, it's almost as like it's like a tribute for me in a sense, as well as I'm doing this for me. Like I'm going to take care of this thing. I want to make it special. And it just speaks to that era. There's nothing, I guess, look, if you're into the more modern cars because you want speed,
Yeah,
They're
exactly.
great. They're fucking great for carting your family around.
They're very efficient and good at what they do.
That's like getting into a spaceship, and that's
Yeah.
awesome. But there's something about like you're sitting in a car still in one of these.
There's no emotion, right?
Yes.
And it's that kind of thing of like they don't make them like they used to.
They don't. But the quality of this car, the way it feels, the way you close a door.
This is a car that's however many years old, and it will still keep going for several more years.
100%.
You look at a new BMW, the complexity and the cost cutting.
I'm not convinced.
There's no way that car is going to be still running in 20, 30
If you
years.
buy a new 740 EV hybrid, whatever.
Beautiful car of the year now or whatever
but
it is.
like
But like, please.
20 years from now,
No, I wouldn't want to.
you don't want to be close to it.
No, because
and
it's
it's
just
also going to look dated. I think it's going to look more dated. It's getting less and less classic and more cutting edge kind of look. 100%. And those things don't age well.
Yeah, I think this still occupied a time where obviously, like, you know, for BMW, this would be like the pinnacle of luxury, I suppose, at the time.
Yeah.
Where you could obviously option in, you know, you're going into an IL, you can get crazy with that thing, or an L7. Now you're talking, you know, really ridiculous. But this is still that perfect middle ground of it is still a family car, it's still an executive car. You want to get an IL and be driven around by someone, you can, but you can still get in yourself and just slam the thing. Where I think more modern 7s, as an example, I love them. I think they're brilliant. But you're right, it's like it's removed from a lot of it's removed from the driving experience.
But it's also, it's not, you know, being more on Q's kind of, you know, judgmental side of it.
Yeah.
If somebody's driving a brand new 7, it doesn't give off like elegant vibes to me at all.
Yes.
It's just a modern thing.
Yes.
There's a kind of a dignity and like to an old 7 Series. It's kind of a, you know what I mean? It's understated. It's
It feels like the kind of vehicle that it is, in the sense of like, you know, like, oh, it's this leathery car that maybe smells a bit of cigarette smoke. And it's
but it's not yet to flash and tell people like, you know, look at how big my headlights are. Look at this. It's like, I
have a movie cinema in back. Do you want to check out?
It doesn't. It doesn't want to attract attention to itself.
That's the modern.
But if you drive this thing, you know all the luxuries and the things you want in there. It makes you feel good. You can still drive it. But it didn't try to shout.
Yeah.
This wasn't the Instagram car.
No.
If you had Instagram in those days, this wasn't the Instagram kind of car. This was a lap of luxury car, but with the new 7 and those things are like much more, you know what I mean?
What's great, I think, is that in pulling together people, you know, whether you're pulling up and someone's just a genuine diehard fan of the brand or they're a fan of cars, I think this turns a lot of heads, but that's not the primary reason. What's really great about being in this kind of late 80s to early thousands, that nice little window, is if I'm on a highway and a guy in an E32, there's like this red 735 that's near me in my area, and it just pulled up on the highway. We're both on the highway, and all of a sudden we both like slowed down and like look at each other, and we're just like, he's like hooting at me, and I'm like, yes, man. Like you feel like you're a part of something, and it's also great because they feel modern enough and drivable enough with, especially this generation, the E39s, your E38s for the 7s. That you're still connected to the drive. You're still actually in there and you're driving the thing.
You are needed. It doesn't drive itself.
I have that similar sense of camaraderie with the Jag station wagon, except I'm still waiting to meet another one on the road.
When it happens, you let us know.
I'll let you know.
It's because the rest of them is broken down. But
No,
you
they
know,
haven't broken down. It's just because there's so few of them.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
Ian Callum design, you know.
Few of them running.
you know,
Before we get into the story of where your car came from and how you came to own it and your sort of journey with it, we have, as is usual on the show, been inundated with an email, which usually means we need to dispense some car advice.
yes.
Does anyone want to volunteer to read the email, or am I on the hook for this one?
You've got the voice for radio.
Okay, so
You've got
Yes.
the voice for radio.
I've got the voice for radio. We've got like a genuine professional
Well,
radio.
maybe we can have Carl read it.
We can have car read it.
Illiterate. No, I can't. I speak. Sorry, guys.
Okay, so dear induction noise. Oh wow, this is. I think this could very possibly be from my old hometown in the UK because it's very posh.
Oh, those posh people that we saw last time.
I
with
pen
the-
this missive from the leather-clad cocoon of nostalgia, where the scent of aged wood mingles with memories of open roads. You see, I am no fan of modern gadgetry. Give me mechanical chronograph over some smart watch any day.
Talking our language.
But my heart yearns for a car that whispers elegance and glides like a swan on a moonlit lake. Ooh. Good Lord, it's certainly Shakespeare. Here's my wish list. I wish for vintage vibes. I crave the curves of a classic, the kind that turns heads at garden parties and makes valets swoon. A silken ride, my spine deserves pampering. I want suspension softer than a cloud's sigh, where potholes are mere rumors. Wow. I'm not even sure this is a word. Quietude.
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 Sure, we'll go for it.
Let the world outside debate electric versus hybrid. I seek a cabin hushed enough to hear a butterfly's wings flutter. My price range, I must confess, I would like to be on a bit sensible with the purchase. Price to fix all issues that might come with a 20-year-old yacht. So he's already decided he wants a 20-year-old yacht.
Okay.
So let's call it a mere 350,000 rand.
All in.
Yours in timeless pursuit, the vintage Voyager.
Okay.
There we go.
I thought that was Vintage Voyeur for a That's a completely different.
I'm in your walls.
It sounds very much like he's into your kinds of cars.
This kind of
did
era.
you
Basically,
like the
just
message?
he basically just described your car.
Just
Like
there,
you just-
I phoned in heavy breathing.
yeah.
I've got any sevens.
Talking to a civ-
Someone's out there.
So what would you suggest he looks at?
I would say if you're going to make the jump into this kind of era of cars in general, right? I would say, listen, the sevens are amazing. I would say if you're going in for that amount, if you can find a 750 Li, personally, IL, sorry, from that era, just because I think that the E38, if I'm going to lean into my own car, it is that perfect era of still you're connected to the road. It's a great drive. You can cart your family around. It's brilliant. It's quiet, especially if it's got the glazed glass, which I think is a standard. Nice. But you just have to pay attention to what's been done to the car. I think anything, as with anything, but especially with these, anyone who tells you they're a problem just needs to know that if it's been handled before, or if you know that you can handle it, do it. But I think from that era as well, like there's a lot of things from around the 2000s. I mean, I'd be interested to hear your thoughts as well. Because for me, obviously, that checks all those boxes.
Yeah.
100%, because it's got that exact, you're in something a bit, cigar cabin-y.
Yeah.
With your little smoker's package and they're like, opening the sunroof only to let cigarette smoke out. Sure. But at the same time, I think there are a lot of cars from that era that tick the box. And listen, for 350,000, you want to know what? Oh no.
You can get some nice.
Toyota Century.
Oh,
Bring in a Toyota Century.
That is not a bad call.
That's not a bad idea.
That is not a bad
Import
call.
a Toyota Century. And like, it doesn't matter
You're not going to have any expensive maintenance or whatever. You can
What
still-
maintenance?
Yeah. Just do oil change and go off.
And because that,
If you want to, if you feel like doing an oil change,
I mean, if you pick the right gen as well, like the most modern gen obviously is I think a bit more SUV. The previous one before that, I think it ends at a certain point where basically it's styled the same for approximately 10 years. So you can get a car that looks like it's from 1997, but it's from 2004.
yes, that's what you
Exactly.
want.
And it's got the doily curtains and all of
Yeah,
those. That
and
for me
everything.
is that's
That's-
very much a one day I'm gonna.
And it is
find
built from granite. Like, I mean,
Yeah.
everything is perfect.
And because Japanese the cars get taxed so heavily after a certain point, there are people letting some go for relatively like quite
They
high
get
prices.
them. They get ridiculously cheap.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I would say a Toyota Century would be my option.
What's
too.
cool about that is
Yeah, no one's
You
saying
know,
that.
you love the BMW, and that's fantastic.
Yeah,
But the likelihood of you getting any kind of big expenses and problems with that Century is going to be less. You're going to be less likely to have any engine
100%.
trouble, any electronic trouble. They just built them. They really built cars differently.
I also am fairly certain that if you can handle like a Lexus or you can handle anything like that, you can handle a Toyota Century. I'm sure the whole it's all made by artisanal people and there's 5 of them. Sure,
But
fine.
they don't break.
Yes,
They don't.
if they had to, then you could just at least go with that. That would be my.
So what alpha would you suggest?
Not an Alpha.
You
But
can't
it's,
suggest a
You're
Rav,
gonna
surely.
just tape 2 Alphas together. It's like,
It's not an Alpha. You can buy like 2 Giuliettas. No. So I will have, maintenance be damned, I will have a Maserati Quattroporte
Okay.
from the middle 2004 roughly, like 20 years ago. Quattroporte. I just love that styling. I think that is just spot on. You can get them for like 250, 300, whatever, but you need to be very sure of what was done to it and what will happen to it.
But I think you actually probably need to find one for cheaper than that if you still want to fix it within the 350 grand budget.
Yes.
Because you're going to have to spend 450 grand fixing it.
Exactly.
That's very true. But I'll take my chances, you know.
Okay, so we've got
Life's risky. I'll buy one. For
BMW/Toyota. We've got Maserati Quattroporte, which is
early 2000s
risky.
one.
Okay.
The first modern one.
So I've also got a risky choice, just because I didn't know they that affordable, so to say. And it's a car that's actually been shared on our car group quite recently on Carbs and Coffee. But it sounds like this oak can kind of hack the maintenance ward, you know. He understood there's some maintenance involved and some mineral oil changing involved with Rolls-Royce Silver Shadow.
Oh, goodness.
Mineral oil.
Yeah, so they don't have brake fluid.
Yeah.
They have mineral oil.
Mineral oil.
Yes.
And their suspension system and the brake system are all run from this mineral oil system.
So if your suspension
One central
leaks,
hydraulic system to rule them all.
if your suspension leaks, you don't have brakes.
That's so cool.
It's
Not
like,
safe. I mean,
It's also quite a funny system because there's not a lot of people who can work on them.
Yeah.
And also, it feels very bizarre when you drive them. So
there's kind of a delay.
there's like a genuine delay to the brakes.
it's a lack of urgency.
Yes.
It's not a lack of urgency. It's just that you know how a soft touch door sort of closes
And then
gently.
it goes.
So the brakes do that. You slam on the brakes, and instead of going, it goes.
But you see, that's just Rolls Royce. It's just
You wanna
saying
spill your tea at the
it's
back
saying,
now, right?
exactly. It's saying you, here, sir. Here's your brakes. Now
Yeah,
we
exactly.
shall slow
Gently
down.
serving
you
you
know,
the
it's
brakes.
He's serving
gently
the brakes.
slowing it down. And I must admit, after being in a Rolls Royce, just I can't explain it. It's everything really does as he says. Everything just quiets down.
Yeah.
And it's actually the first car, and I'm going to get ragged on because it's quite controversial, but it's the first brand that I understand going electric.
Because of the silence.
Because of the silence.
The serenity
Because of the
inside
serenity of
Rolls-Royce
it, like the
is-
Rolls-Royce Spectre. Because if you own a Rolls-Royce, what you're going to do? You're going to have a driver that's going to drive you to and from wherever.
Yeah. So you're not going to drive it in any case.
But you're not going to drive it far. You're going to, let's say, do a 100-kilometer round trip or 200 because you've got a jet.
You're going to get on the PJ and fly to Joburg or whatever.
So that's the first brand that when they brought out the Spectre, I thought
That's not a
But
bad
not
idea.
only that,
it kind of makes sense.
The thing is, with the Rolls-Royce, it weighs 16 tons anyway.
Anyway,
so putting
yes.
a huge battery in it
Doesn't matter.
I wanted to disagree with you, but you're right.
So I had a different approach. I think the Rolls-Royce is actually a really good choice. I didn't think of that.
You will need to fund it for 100K though, because you're going to spend to keep
Yeah,
going
but
to
it
be
sounds
spending a
like
bit of money
it
fixing
sounds like the Soak doesn't mind the maintenance of you, you know, so it's fine.
I've got we're going to focus only on yours right now. But there's one that I also wanted to mention. You got two, so I'm going to mention the extra one. Is a Jag 3.8.
Oh, that's very old.
The ones that the 70s bank robbers used, like the round one before the XJ6.
So like the Mark IIs.
Yes.
Oh. Can you
So-
get them for 350?
Yes, you can.
Yeah,
you
It's
can.
going to be a little ropey, but you can get one.
No, you can get it. But
The thing is, I wouldn't get the Mark II 3.8. I would do what our friend Richard did and get the S-Type, which looks very similar to the Mark II. And to the layman, they'll go, that's a Mark II. But it was a much more modern car underneath. It's actually much nicer to drive.
that one.
Yeah.
Yeah, let's get that one.
That one.
That one, yeah.
So I was also reading the leather-clad blah-de-blah-de-blah. It kind of told me that this is a Jag-man. And
a bit of a Jag vibe.
I was very much thinking in the lines of my old car, something like an early 2000s XJR,
Yeah.
possibly even maybe not the XJR, but the Daimler with the long wheelbase.
Yes.
It's good enough for the Queen, you know.
Yes, what-o. Those things are insanely comfortable. They are quiet inside. They're quick when you want them to be. And you can pick them up for reasonable money. You can get a mint example within this guy's budget.
Yeah.
And they're not as
and the
difficult to
thing is,
maintain
they're not
as
that
people think they
difficult to
are.
maintain. And the thing is, whenever someone who's not in the know sees you driving one, they think it costs a hell of a lot more
Yeah,
money.
of
than
Yeah,
it
it's got
actually
that
does.
very regal look to it
Yes.
that automatically
Yeah.
makes you think
the
like,
thing, it's
whoa,
got
we're in
such-
Rolls Royce territory here.
It's
You know,
such
like,
an elegant and
Yeah.
beautiful shape. And
Yeah.
that bonnet with its complex curves and lines and things, it just shouts expensive.
yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But
And it was when it was
Yeah,
new.
it was.
but I mean, even at the time, it would have been cheaper than the equivalent BMW.
Yeah.
True.
When it was new.
When it was new, yeah. It was cheaper than the Beamers.
Very similar money.
The one thing one thing the Daimler does that is kind of a bit opposite to the Rolls Royce that I love is because I was with you in that one you guys had or have for sale. Had for sale, and you can kind of hear the engine, but it's almost like a proper mechanical watch where you just
It's ticking over.
Yeah. You don't hear
just-
the exhaust, but you hear the
you
engine.
hear the engine itself.
Because you always hear the noise from the exhaust.
And
you
it
don't hear
almost gives a bit of soul to this luxury barge that you can just hear that,
Yeah.
but very softly.
Yeah.
You can
It's
just
just
hear
there.
that
It's like here's an engine.
mechanical.
We
There's
have-
an
It's a
It's an
Jag. It
It's
purrs
not an
like
EV.
a
It
kitten.
purrs
It's
like
got
a
an
kitten,
engine.
yes.
A drag.
But those things are
And-
phenomenal. And I had the supercharged XJR, and I
That was phenomenal.
absolutely loved that car.
Your wife did not.
No.
No, my wife is not a fan.
Why not?
She said it looked like it had fried eggs for headlights.
She spent
old-fashioned.
she spent a whole podcast episode ripping apart over the
And what did you say? The seats were so slippy, she slid off them because you
word.
polished them too much or
I don't know.
something like that. And they
anyway.
were never sat in because it
It
was
was-
a mint, eh?
It was
and
brilliant.
and
That
it
car
had
was
creamy, that
stunning.
special order cream leather.
stunning.
So
Ivory.
sorry. It's at the ivory
Ivory.
option with real
You
like
could pretty much,
fucking
at the time when that car was new, you could pretty much buy a 3 Series BMW for the price of the ivory
ivory
leather.
seat.
Just for the leather, yeah.
So his wife's one comment was their toddler isn't allowed to like do anything in the car like because it's got ivory
I
leather.
have a toddler yet.
But if they did.
But she was
Do
already
now,
she already
and I still have a car with cream leather in it. I have learned from my mistakes. No.
I've got a 2-seater that only I drive in. My wife doesn't drive with me. You've got a whole station wagon that only you drive in.
That's pretty much it.
which feels a bit more sad.
But you guys get to go on road trips with me in it. So
Yes,
that's,
yes,
that's
we
all,
do.
all worth
Hey.
it in the end.
You and Carl have something in common. You both have Landvigator tires on.
Oh.
Have you got Landvigators?
He's
Yeah,
got
I do, but
Landvigators.
it's also, I'll tell that it's part of the story of picking up the car specifically as well, because basically like the 2 back tires were like chewed up from the, I was buying, like I bought it from the guy who'd just been garaging it the whole time. And I just didn't realize how big the damn wheels were. Like, you know, they're 16-inch. It's not
yeah.
just the size.
The
So,
size
like,
of the tire.
yeah, these are basically like they'd be the equivalent of like a Kia SUV would be using the same
Yeah,
kind
yeah,
of tires.
exactly.
So I'm like, sure, I was in PE, so I was like, I'll just take the Land
Whatever you
Rover,
have.
sure,
Yeah. Well, as it turns out, they handle quite brilliant.
I'd say they're pretty good. I have no problems.
Pretty
with
good.
them. I have
Well,
no
we did a mountain pass test
Yeah.
on the Landvigators.
Some trail braking was involved.
Fully loaded,
Jagging.
Full
Jag
looping
station
sparker.
wagon.
Nice.
Exactly, with some extra motivation and weight in there.
Yeah.
And it coped perfectly.
Brilliant.
And it was-
Yeah,
Kept up with an MX-5.
Hey,
about
there
it.
we go.
We had to wait for the MX-5 to catch up with it.
Yeah, I know. And we were even on flat tire, you know. It's
Yeah, that was with three Landvigators. Imagine
Three
what we could have done with
Landvigators.
4.
Imagine if we had
would have been brilliant.
So, Kyle,
Yes.
your car, where did you find it? How long did you look for it? And what state was it in when you got it?
So I don't know how long the search was. It was towards the end of 2022. It had been just a really good couple of years in terms of things I was doing and moving around, like settling down with the missus, like thinking things through of like, okay, I want to do this thing now. Falling back in love with these things. And it was then looking for something that I just had that emotional connection to. So to a degree, it was looking at E39s, the 5 series. And it wasn't just, it was going, okay, no, like, I don't want to just go carbon copy of what I grew up with.
Yeah.
What am I going to do? Get a 528 and go, okay, great. No,
Yeah.
I kind of wanted to try something a bit different. And basically, Facebook Marketplace was my friend. I was looking around looking around on everywhere else, the usual car platforms. But it was something specifically that I'm like, I want to get it from someone that has relatively looked after it and take it on. And
A pre-loved car.
yeah. And it was, I think the challenge was finding the right one. I'd like looked at a couple. There was some people who maybe a family that's in the business of like, they buy a bunch of cars, they sell a bunch of cars. So like you meet them, saw a couple of older models, and I realized, okay, I want post facelift. So after 1999 and I set the 500 kilometer radius on Facebook Marketplace.
You try and make it bigger, and they don't let you.
Yeah, I've got my 2 cities that I always set it to. I think it's like, there's a place called like Ubuntu that gets you the whole of
Yeah. So I've also tried to where should the middle be?
You set it to Kroonstad, and then that gets
There we
you the
go.
other half of the country.
Kroonstad is the magic time.
So I was like bouncing between the 2, and then one came up in Port Elizabeth.
Okay.
And it was during a very busy December, because that's generally where a lot of my work picks up, specifically in the music industry things.
Yeah.
So between some festival things that I was involved in and my own, travels and whatever, I'd basically said, okay, I'm just going to make a day of this, and I'm just going to fly up to PE just to look at the car once. Flew up, looked at it. It was owned by originally guy who passed away, had like family car. He sold it. It was sold from an estate to this other guy in PE that turns out that knows people I know. And he's more in the world of collecting motorbikes, but he has a lot of cars. And it was just the case of he needed to free up space. And so I found it. I looked at it. I liked it a lot, and then I left and I thought about it for like quite a bit. I mean, what he was asking price-wise, I kind of knocked it down a bit because I was aware that it needed work. And in hindsight, like, cool, still a good deal, but like I probably should have pushed a little bit harder because it's a BMW. I was like, yeah, I've got so much stuff to do, but then by the time you actually work on it, you're like, there's so much more.
There's so much
I
more.
don't even know about.
But that's true. But it's also a case of, I've also had that same thing where, maybe I paid a bit too much. But, find another one in the color, it's just so difficult to find them. It's not like every week you can pick the next one.
For me, it's more like if I could have negotiated with the guy a bit harder, maybe. But I'm also, I'm happy if he's happy. It's more, it was then, so flew back. I think I made the payment and then flew up again. And basically it was a bit of a ball ache because it wasn't PE. It was like, gave me the forms, give me the car. Drove it back to Cape Town first thing. It's like the first thing I did is just like baptize it with like a 7-hour drive on my own.
That's a good way to baptize it.
The speakers are a bit like broken and crusty because it needs to be replaced over time. These kinds of things, like the housing had failed. So it was just me and that engine over the drive. Leaky power steering at the time, like the shocks, bit worn, whatever. But you just coming over the mountain and getting into Cape Town as the sun was setting with those the amber cabin lights coming in, was like, it was the moment where I'm like, I have made the correct decision.
Yes.
I don't care how long this is going to take. And then, over the last 2-ish years, it's been obviously just, power steering, body pieces.
There's always something.
Like I'm trying to go as close to concourse as possible while also not breaking my own back. I'm not going to...
You don't spend $1 million on a old BMW.
I'm not going to redo the entire paint, but I'm going to sort out body panels of like, putting the straps in the boot that you would actually use to put your luggage in because it's fancy. And
that's cool. That's very
cool. So it's replacing the straps. It's doing that. It's going to be sorting out the self-leveling suspension. I want whoever takes this over from me in however many years that is to be able to enjoy the full experience of this vehicle.
Probably your son.
Potentially, yeah. I mean, to be fair, it's one of those things where
imagine the student car.
It's a vehicle that I do not know if I would want to hand off unless I truly had to. If I'm really like, I need to buy into something really special and I need to clear that out.
If you can, you'd keep it.
If I can, and that is the plan, is to keep this. I don't think anyone puts this kind of effort into this kind of car to turf it. There are a lot of people who've kept it within their families. There's a couple of people who, like a Joburg, stripping for parts. I knew I was setting myself up for a challenge. That was also a big thing. Is that, people can say like, these other BMWs are hard to maintain or these cars are, but like they're relatively well supported in this country. Where with this, it's a lot of importing. It's making friends with BMW and going, what is still available, what parts have not been discontinued.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it's
Where
kind of
Facebook was your friend, eBay might now be.
now be
Yeah.
your
Better friend, yeah.
eBay, definitely eBay, as well as there's a couple of sites in America, like just really well stocked. But then I've also been shocked to find out actually just how good some of the BMW dealerships are with parts. They're great, like service, and
I must admit that was quite interesting for me because when I had my Jag,
yeah,
I was convinced, the Jag dealers wouldn't have parts for this thing. It's 20 years old, 20-something years old. And to my amazement, they said, well, we'll phone Heritage in the UK. And I'm
Yeah.
like, Heritage? They're like, yeah, Jaguar has a
It's a thing.
Heritage department.
yeah.
And we still support these cars completely, fully.
That's amazing.
So down to the caps on the wheel centers, I could order those. I could get I had a crack in my indicator lens, which sits in the lower part of the bumper.
Yeah.
I managed to order
The
that.
car's been discontinued for many
Yeah,
years.
yeah.
Like,
And
decade.
even today,
Yeah.
now I've learned about online sites like SNG Barrett that specifically they just supply Jaguar parts
Yeah.
for older Jags. Every single part on that car is still available through SNG
Yeah.
Barrett because they get it from Jaguar.
You'd be surprised. It's more just, I think, novelties that I've found to be struggling
Yeah.
with. So like oh, cool, we're going to put a phone in the car, woo. But all of those kinds of things. So you want to change the phone cradle. You could buy the whole cradle off of eBay, but you're not going to find those parts because also a lot of them you would have spec'd your car to come with a Nokia or something, right?
Yeah.
And like you're not going to get the Nokia or that.
How cool would
So,
that be? A working
again,
Nokia in your
fun.
car.
drawing a parallel to the Jag world.
Yeah.
So in my generation of Jaguar, which was the X308,
Yeah.
you could get a phone cradle installed in the center armrest for a very specific Motorola. I think it's called the StarTAC or something like that.
Yeah.
But Motorola actually made specific firmware for the car's
Oh, wow.
electronics.
So there's a
you
collab
have
between
to
the two
have
to-
a Motorola phone with the Jaguar logo on it.
Wow. Okay.
Otherwise, it won't work in
Yeah.
the car. And those phones on eBay are selling for big money.
I can imagine. Well, imagine you've got like
I've
a
got one in the
concourse
filing
car.
cabinet, by the way.
You've got like
Oh,
a
wow.
no, but imagine
Well,
imagine it's a collector. You've got that car,
Yeah.
and you get that phone, simple phone. Just it's got a SIM card in it. You can phone something. It's cool.
It's the one thing, like,
It's very cool.
I love the idea of retro modding some of these things into cars. So mine has like a Siemens wireless phone.
Yeah.
It kind of looks like a wireless house phone of the
Yeah,
time.
yeah.
I would love to find in like good working condition one of those physical,
Yeah.
actual wired phone
Yeah.
models that from the era, maybe just like a little bit earlier in the lifespan, just to
have it.
we had to like backdate the car, even though, because my car is
Yeah.
from within the last 6 months of its manufacturing. But I would love to go, cool, just give me that like early, like 95
Yeah.
to 98 wired phone,
Yeah.
please.
That's very cool.
That would be good.
Just one in there. So if
just so-
anyone's listening,
Hello, listen, if anyone does have E38 parts, reach out to me, please.
Call us from your wired phone if you
yeah, from your wired phone, prove it's working.
Hello.
So what are your plans going forward with it? I mean, you've obviously done quite a lot of work to the mechanicals and stuff to get it
Yes.
running and driving properly.
Yeah.
What are the next steps?
There are more things that can be done than most people would do. So at the moment, it's been serviced and it's been looked after. And okay, we're going to do, it's either going to be a it's either going to be a shock rebuild or I'm going to replace the shocks because they are like sports dampening, like electronic dampening, and the back has self-leveling suspension. So I want to get that back to
It's
what it
going to
was.
be probably a pricey part.
To be fair, there's like 3 tiers to it, which is like you get them rebuilt, and there's some people in Cape Town who can do that, which is
Okay,
amazing.
that's cool.
There's some other people that I've been linked to from some really great workshops who can do it for like, they'll get you new parts for kind of medium price, and then there's going to BMW where it's like, congrats, it's 15,000 Rand a shot. Enjoy
Take
yourself.
my
15 grand a shock, that's cheap.
Yeah,
That's not bad,
I mean,
bro.
Like, try Bentley, bro.
100%. I mean, I think it'll be interesting to see like the difference, really, I guess. So I mean, there's things like that. There's speakers is the next thing. So I'm keeping the internal sonic parts exactly the hi-fi system itself the
Yes.
same. I want it to play CDs. I want it to play tape. I don't care about Bluetooth. I want this to feel authentic.
Yes.
But just new speakers and some insulation.
Yeah.
Brilliant. And
Man,
like, I bought,
that's what I did to my 1996 Toyota RAV4.
Yeah.
I still use the original tape deck.
Yeah.
It's got a CD changer.
Yeah.
I don't use that anymore, but it's got it. And I've just got like a Bluetooth thing that
Amazing.
I'm linking up to it.
What happened to the sub that you put into it?
We had a rally and the sub stopped working. It's after we ramped. Like
Yeah, we kind of jumped around.
okay.
we did a rally
sub-
sprint event and we jumped like off the
I'm
road.
not so happy.
I told him bumps, and he was just like, flat
There's a
footed.
video on YouTube of them flying through
You know?
the air going,
If we fly, we fly. If we die, we
Nice.
die. You know.
That's amazing.
So we went for it, and then afterwards, when I tried to put the radio on, the sub was dead. I only installed it like 3 days before,
Right.
but it's got some weird check engine light on the sub. It's got it's active sub.
On the sub.
So it's like an amp.
So the sub broke, but the car is still going. We're
Okay.
still
Yeah.
top of the class, you know?
Yeah,
We're top of the class in the rally.
Daily race car, man.
No, daily
I
race
think
car.
I think on top of that, there's something that I want to do that a lot of people. The great thing about in general, like these kinds of well-loved BMWs is the community behind it. So there are these forums that go back 15, 20
Yes.
years, and there are people still actively posting on the same
Yes.
forums and threads. And there are a bunch of like quality of life things within there that I think are relevant to do here. So the wonderful Vanos system on these engines that are just
yes.
notoriously irritating. I can hear it. Like I've had it, everything checked out. I thought, is it the timing chain? Is it everything? No, it's none of those things. Great. So it's the Vanos. And the question is, do you go to BMW and they replace it, or do you take the time, take the engine apart,
Clean things.
rebuild? Oh, firstly you replace some gaskets, but there's
Yeah.
actually some modification and rebuilding you can do yourself. And that's the next thing that just then the thing will purr like a kitten forever. And that's basically next on the hit
so
list.
you're quite handy with a spanner then.
I'm going to be by the time I do this. I've been doing bits and pieces, but there's some things that I will always defer to the experts. But in a case of something like this, where it is incredibly well documented, I'm not going to go to a mechanic's shop and go, "Hey, can you do this job you've never done before?" It's like a weird modification
Yeah.
thing that we've been doing within the community.
Yeah.
So it's terrifying, but everyone on the forums, even in overseas and South Africa, they're all saying to guys who are like 22 picking up a 5
Yeah,
Series
you
now,
can do it.
they're all asking the same questions as they were asking then, and it's just the comments are just, should I do it? Yes. Should I do it? Yes.
Yes.
For like 15 years. Are you sure I should? Yes. Just do it.
Don't worry,
I promise
just do
you'll
it.
be fine. Take the engine apart, you'll be fine.
Yeah.
And that's kind of the next thing for this. And then I think logically my next move is whatever I get into next is, I feel like it should be an E34 M5, possibly, I think.
I love that idea.
Or an E39 M5.
Yeah.
I think there's something to be said of I want an M car. I want it to still be. I would feel like the E39 would be too similar to this. So maybe doing the E34.
true.
I almost want to say that, and it's also a V8. It's
Yeah.
similar kind of shape. It's also a V8. It's a more sporty
It'll
V8.
feel the same, more or less. The engine will be different.
It will
drive
feel
well.
similar, but more sporty.
Yes.
And I honestly think that and it is a bit of a popular choice. Everybody's like, oh, the V8, E39, and they are great. But to me, a very underrated car is the E34 M5s.
Yes.
You don't hear people raving about them. If people are like, what's your top 3, top 5 BMWs? I did that question.
Yeah.
And people kind of don't mention that even.
Yeah.
And to me, that's a super
and the
special
34
car.
was also, it was built like a tank.
Yes.
It
I
is
love those
genuinely.
cars.
I mean, my dad had an E34. It was only a 520,
Yeah.
but he used it as his station car in the UK to drive to the station and back.
Mm.
And that thing was so solid. It was just, for me, when I was a kid, just getting into cars at that stage, I just got my first car, which was a Honda Civic.
Yeah.
And it was just remarkable because I was the guy who washed all the cars.
Yeah.
And you'd put the hose pipe on the Civic and you can hear it go on the tinny metal.
Yeah.
You put it on the Beamer and it's almost like the water's too afraid to make a noise.
Yeah.
It's just a...
Hitting a wall.
Absolutely.
And just closing the door.
Yeah.
Closing
Yeah.
the door on an
So
E34.
solid.
Yes.
It's just like a doof.
It takes the best parts of loving the 7s, knowing that that's where they debuted a lot of technology. It takes the best part of the previous generation of 7 and made it just a lot more aggressive, but at the same time still great for a family, great for whatever. If I had my way, dream budget was no option. There's that person who had either exported it from South Africa or has imported it here. It's that aubergine colored.
The wagon.
the M5 station wagon.
Yes,
In my on a set of M parallels.
those
Call it a day.
are
That's it. I would,
fantastic.
I would maintain that for until I then get obsessed with something else invariably.
Can I just say again, station wagons?
Yes.
Yeah, but station wagons
Station
is
wagons,
just
yes.
cool.
Station wagons are
Station
great.
wagons is cool.
Before we start kind of winding things down, we thought that maybe we'll ask you a few questions that we want some quick fire answers for.
Okay, rapid fire answers. Okay.
So just to, a very quick deep dive into the motoring side. You've already told us detail about the BM, but just in general,
Okay.
first car, you've already told us that. First car, Polo. So, Lamborghini Urus or Range Rover?
Ebola.
First gen Range Rover.
Here we go.
That's your answer. First gen Range Rover.
That's the right answer. That's good.
Proper man.
The Range Rover.
The
Classic.
Range Rover.
Range Rover
Yes.
Classic. Thank you.
The Queen's Range Rover. The most racy or motorsporty thing that you've done?
I mean, like not die on highways while driving really fast.
Anything that you would consider as motorsport
Oh, you
or
mean in terms
racy
of like
kind of
actually
something?
me? No, I'm saying like that. That was my answer. It's like not.
Okay.
Oh yeah, spinning out on a highway, like going too fast and then like surviving. That was pretty good.
That's a
I'd
good
love-
outcome.
No, it's honestly, I'd love to do more. It's the thing of like I need to just make. Remember the obsessive over music period, and now I actually have that kind of time.
car
I'm like,
obsession.
get me on a bit
Nice.
of a. I don't know if I want to. I think I'd rather like drive fast than like throw the car around. So I think.
I think we need to talk to the guys at Harper Sports Cars and get him on the track.
Ooh,
Yes,
that would be
yes.
good.
We will get you on track.
Yeah.
we
Yes,
will.
please.
We will get you on
In
track.
a
a
Harper.
DD2.
Yeah, or even in a DD2.
That would be,
be crazy.
That would be quite fun.
You will have a
But
new
you sh-
obsession.
You should actually just join and come and check the lemons as well, or whatever.
Yes, I
because
saw-
that's-
I saw-
Yeah, so we raced in the lemons.
Yes,
so,
I've seen people. I've seen people posting.
quite a few
about that.
guys
Yeah,
doing
it's
that.
awesome. Super cool.
Yeah.
Cool. We'll take care of that. So you've got a different answer next time.
Okay.
Alpha or Audi?
I don't. You know what? I have fond memories of like Alpha. Is it Spiders from the 90s?
Yeah.
Fond memories of those, but grandfather has always driven Audi. So from station wagons through to like a Q, I think it's like a 3 or something now. The type of people to buy a nice car and look after it. So for me, it has to
Audi.
be Audi. Just
Well,
for
with
that
a
family
DJ
thing.
name that has Das in the
Yeah,
middle,
you gotta think I'm gonna
you've
go
got to
German.
be kind of German, you know.
Exactly. That's fine. By the way, he's got 290 Spiders.
Okay.
The number of cars you've owned, roughly?
It's actually not that much. I think it's like it's basically 4 now. It's 4. It's like unreasonable. Just
Okay,
the
that's
reasonables,
still-
the Polo into the other things, and then now
Still
this.
rookie numbers. You can pump that
I know.
up.
No,
I can
not
pump them
just
up.
this year.
Yeah, no. In the last 5 minutes, I've just been dealing.
Sorry, you're just dealing with people here that sort of go through underwear.
No, it's
At the same rate
it's
as
the
cars.
phase I'm in now. That's why it's like I have the ongoing money pit where I'm like,
the
I
starting
need a
point.
second money pit. You know, like,
Yes,
suddenly, like,
yes.
I'm still working.
This is not training me quickly enough.
Yeah, exactly. 100%.
Okay. How many times did it take you to get your license?
1. First time. 0 points.
you
0
was-
points on the yard.
How many
had mine
times?
The first time you had yours.
First time, yeah, and you,
Niku,
Nico?
Niku, how many times did you do yours?
I can't remember.
Niku?
Twice.
I'm just going to claim my 0 points on the yard because that was a big deal for me. I really
Like
enjoyed it. I was like,
Nice.
no rolling on the hill. Let's
Nice.
go. Yeah.
So, Alfa Romeo 4C or Nissan GTR?
Ooh. Are we talking like modern GTR?
Yes.
Yeah.
Latest GTR. There's a part of me that's like I have this like horrible little secret gremlin inside of me that loves like Japanese cars. So like it's like I want to so the Honda Man, the I'm forgetting the name of it now. It's like my favorite car. Not the
NSX?
no like 19. It's like stopped making them in like 1991.
91.
NSX is the like a
No. It's the
supercar.
No, the boxy one that people. are trying
CRX.
to- CRX, thank you.
CRX, oh yes,
So
yeah.
That's
the
awesome.
little dirty
Yes.
asshole inside of me that's like, fuck,
They
yeah,
are-
get a CRX. I'm gonna
There's-
say like get
they
the
are cool.
Nissan, do the Nissan.
A mate of
There's
ours
a
has
very-
one.
there's
Yeah,
a
that's cool.
GTR, do the GTR also because then it's like you can have your Need for Speed Underground moment, but not really.
There's a very nice CRX for sale currently for like 110. And I've looked at it so many times.
is
I'm
it?
like, in Cape Town.
Oh yeah.
I'm like, you don't have space. Stop it.
Yeah.
Stop it.
Yeah.
Stop it.
And
But
it's-
then I convinced myself it's small. So I don't
take
need
up
a lot of space.
You just flip it on its side like a PlayStation. It's allowed
Exactly,
to stand
that's
both
just
ways.
it.
It's
just
also
side
tasking
like
you can
this.
have twice as much.
And one of your
Twice as
alphas is being a bit dodgy at the moment. It might catch
see,
fire at any
exactly.
moment.
But Neil would be upset that he's not here now.
Yes.
Yeah, because he'd love
He would
that.
be very impressed.
He's a
in a
GTR
Sunday.
man.
Oh, okay.
Last question.
Yes.
The most cringy car mod that you have done. If you have.
Ooh, cringy car mod that I've
If you haven't, then it's fun. Change something on your car.
No, I think the cringiest thing I'm going to do is probably put like floating center caps on my like summer wheels, because like I feel like there's a little bit of like it's a bit too much. It's like to like I drive an executive car, and then you're gonna have like you ever check my wheels, dude. Like I think that's gonna probably be.
I like that.
I'm keeping it. No,
I
see,
like
the thing
that.
is because I'm basically doing like kind of like what's the phrase? I'm trying to keep it as stock as possible, but like just in plus. It's stock
OEM plus.
OEM
OEM
plus.
plus. Thank you.
OEM
OEM
plus.
plus.
I'm trying to go OEM plus, but there are things like I'm thinking of. It's not tacky. I just think that it's like it's not a sports car, but I want to put an Alpina front lip on the thing, just quietly, just so that it's there. Get it painted the same color, so it's there, so I can be like, but
That'll be controversial, but not cringy.
Yeah.
it's fairly common in the community. It
Yeah,
seems
yeah.
everyone just kind of slaps a pair of M parallels on or set of M parallels.
Yeah,
and
if
puts
you were
the
going to
Alpina.
say you're going to put a carbon fiber splitter on
Yeah.
it now or
Yeah,
rear wing,
yeah.
then I would say that's quite cringe.
Cringy is putting like 7 subs in the back of your Polo or
100%. It's the event that does
Fake
nothing.
bonnet scoop on
Yes.
the
yeah.
I've done my best to avoid those things. I think in
that's-
general, it's all of that kind of stuff. It's my problem if I were to get into something else, is that maybe I would decide that this is the tasteful car, and then get an M5 and then fucking bag it, so then I can start slapping outside the front of the shop just to impress you guys.
Get out.
Just be like, hey guys, what's up? Maybe.
Put a Pops and Bangs map on there.
A lot of people who I'm friends with who see this car send me photos of people who've gone just a little bit too far, like
Oh, no.
slamming it to the ground. It's like the video with like some TikTok music being like, the ultimate
yes.
mafia car. And I'm like,
Yeah.
stop.
Like,
please.
you've turned into
Go
the ultimate
away.
Blanca car.
What you've
Just
done there is taken a good car and ruined it.
Yeah, ruined
Yes.
it. Exactly.
Absolutely. So I must say this is our initiative to get to know
Yeah.
the motoring chops of our guests better. And I must say that you've done pretty well, except for getting the alpha
I was going to
questions
ask,
wrong.
I'm going to say,
but-
I feel like I need a crash course on Alpha because I don't know enough.
No. We do not have enough time.
Not right now. Not right now.
Like, if
But-
you get him started, we will be out of here like 3 weeks from now.
Well, he'll tell you about a junior as well.
Yes.
But
We've heard the story of your junior. Like,
so I'm not
times.
going to do this here. So when do you have a week open?
When do you have a
When is the
week?
next week that you have open?
So you're
We
just
can
on
arrange
holiday. You're going to come here.
Exactly. We can arrange something.
You know how they like send kids to like you can go to the aquarium and you can learn all about sea life for a week to keep
Exactly.
them busy during the holidays. That's going to be me with like a backpack.
Exactly.
Just learn
Exactly.
about
We'll get your
Alpha.
alpha cap in a backpack and we'll tell you all about it.
Yeah, going to be driving Italian before I even know it.
There we go.
So, last thing before we say keep it classy, I have to ask this.
Yes.
Das Kapital.
we're
Where does
there.
that come from?
Okay, so if you know a thing or two about like economics and so on, it's Karl Marx's book. It's the origins of socialism that led into communism, I suppose. And when I was about 17, 18, I was looking for a DJ name because you were playing around your mates' birthdays.
That's got to be cool.
There was like one guy who had all of this equipment, so we'd all clamor to who could DJ at the birthday party. And I had a bunch of average DJ names and some really terrible ones. Like the last one before Das Kapital was Kuroshi, which is it's that Japanese thing where like the businessmen hurl themselves out of buildings. Like they work too hard.
Yeah, exactly, yeah.
So there was a bit of a theme, and I was like, oh yeah, it's because it's death by overwork, because I worked so hard. And it just happened that a lot of the artists I was into in the more like independent electronic scene were naming themselves after like video games or books. There was a guy called like Le Castlevania, like
Okay.
basing it off the video game.
And the other guy, Le 50 Shades.
And I was like very into my history and I read a lot of nonfiction. I didn't read a lot of like story books at that point because I was like, I want to learn as much as possible. And while reading through my history textbook, because I was that adamant about learning history specifically that like we'd have a module and I would just keep reading. The teacher would ignore me because I just found it interesting. Like you're reading history on stuff that, you're going to read one paragraph in the class. Let me just read another page.
What it's really about.
Yeah, and so I chose Das Kapital because firstly, it means capital. It just means like it's money, I guess. But it was a cool name that to me I just knew that people aren't going to really know that just means like a gender neutral term for money.
It's actually Das Kapital, but it's actually just in English it's just capital.
Capital. It's just
That's it. Yeah.
So to me, it was like, does it sound like a name? Does Das Kapital remix work? And now people call me Das, which is just hilarious because it's like, hey Das. It's like going, hey the. You know?
That's kind of the La Ferrari.
The
It's
La
like
Ferrari.
the Ferrari.
The La Ferrari. Yeah, so it just the irony is it's also terrible for search engines. It's horrible,
Because you come up.
the book comes up.
Karl Marx's book will come
So if
up.
you search Das Kapital, they will literally autocorrect to like Das Kapital book, Das Kapital DJ, whatever that kind of stuff, which is fun to know that enough people have searched it to at least influence that a bit.
Yeah.
But by the time the career took off a little bit enough, it was too late to change the name, and that was just after I left school.
Well,
So even though you
mean,
have a bit
So
of
you
a
can't
name,
be
and
the artist formerly known
I
as
could.
Das Kapital.
I could,
Das
and
Kapital.
you know what? It might be a thing because I think it's maybe time to have the separation of that personality and that be the radio guy, and then through the things that I want to do, it might be time to lean into this is Kyle or this is whatever else I do.
cool.
Kyle
I
is
must say, it is kind of like that though, because even when I was DJing in the clubs, you take on a completely different personality.
Yeah.
You say things on the mic that you would never say to another person to their face.
Yeah.
all you can ever hope to be is an amplified version of yourself. I think I've got a lot of friends in that industry who have.
Oops.
We have beeping.
That's
GoPros
fine.
here.
We have friends who have whole other personas, basically. The way that they conduct themselves is like trying to be very aloof or very overly positive when
Bit
they're
of
not
a
like that.
bit of a Jack Sparrow vibe kind of thing.
Yeah, kind
like,
of. I mean,
if
so
you
he to some degree, he is like that, but
He's
obviously...
a little bit like that,
yeah,
but it's
he
also
has to be the persona. He's
Yes,
got to be
but
like,
the persona
yeah,
is-
a horse when really he's like, hey, when really he's actually like, hey, how's it, dude? How are you? Like,
yeah,
he's a
exactly.
motherfucking
No,
guy.
his persona is way over the top.
That's actually why a lot of people have left Marilyn Manson's band, because they think he's Marilyn Manson and he's actually just Brian, you know?
Yes.
Chill guy.
Yeah, so all you could hope for is, I think, being the... I'll let Das Kapital be like an amplified version of me. I think there are a lot of people who would watch this and go, oh yeah, that's what he's like online. But then, if we were having this conversation over a beer, it may even be a lot more relaxed. It's a lot more personal. There's things that I would say.
Depends how many beers we had.
Exactly. Depends how many people are listening.
To be continued.
And I mean, everyone now knows the phrase "In Das we trust."
I'm glad that took.
Just
because-
like everyone
we
now
trust.
knows the phrase.
Stay classy, San Diego.
Stay classy, San Diego.
Carl, thanks so much for joining us, dude. It
Yeah, man, that was
cool.
Thank you so much for having me.
And
It's a pleasure.
we'll definitely have you back at some stage to catch up on the BMW and your experiences in racing, which we're going to get you into.
We will have you educated on racing and alphas.
Yes.
And maybe we can tempt you to come down and support us when we're doing lemons.
Absolutely. Yeah. Sounds like a pleasure.
Yeah.
Probably lekker.
Cool. So then, for real, we will stay classy, guys.
Yeah.
Stay classy.
Cool.
Nice.
Lekker.
Out. Nice one, man.